looking? Can you guys see it? Perfect. Cool. Well, welcome everybody. Hey, Laura. I can go ahead and kick us off today. Thanks for joining. Today we're going to be talking about, obviously, how to build a tech stack to transform your fulfillment, and specifically how merchants are able to optimize all of their processes and hopefully drive profitability at the end of the day. I feel like that's the goal for everybody, is to make more money. So I can kind of set us up and give a quick intro, and then Oliver, I'll let you introduce yourself. My name's Lindsay Brush, one of our VPs of sales here at Glew, right now based in my hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina. And my day-to-day typically at Glew consists of helping brands evaluate Glew as like an app, but then also helping coach them through their own data and helping them figure out where in their own numbers they should be looking for the most actionable insights once they see it all come to life inside of Glew. So super excited to be joining Oliver. I'll let you give your intro on Peoplevox and Descartes.
Yeah, so I'm the Global Sales Director for Peoplevox. We're a company of Descartes, a global supply chain business headquartered out of North America. I look after new business for Peoplevox across the world. So the US, the UK, Europe, and Australia and New Zealand are our primary markets. And while Lindsay lives in the world of digital data, I very much deal in the physical, behind the scenes, dirty plumbing of e-commerce. Everything after people press buy on a website, we get involved in helping companies transform the way that they actually manage those orders and make sure everything goes out on time and they deliver a great customer experience.
Awesome. Yeah, between the two of us and serving clients all over the world, we don't get a lot of sleep, but I'd say we both really like our jobs. So we're excited that you guys could be here, and hopefully we can help you and teach you something today. If you're wondering kind of like why Glew and why Peoplevox, it's funny, Oliver and I go way back. I mean, not too far, but 2018, I remember it was one of my first few months at Glew, and one of our shared clients, Just Hype, she was like, hey man, do you have the integration yet for Peoplevox? Like, I would love to have my inventory data in addition to everything you've shown me with Glew. And so after that, we kind of just teamed up, joined forces really to help provide all of our mutual customers with whatever they needed to be successful. And turns out it's better e-commerce reporting, but also better inventory management and fulfillment reporting too. So when we were planning for this webinar, we realized over and over again, so many of the merchants are facing the common challenges that we are noticing. And so with all of these types of tools they're using, we thought it might be helpful to share a few case studies with you guys. So the first thing that I figured we could do is start talking about the best brands that we've seen be really successful and what they're doing. So there are commonalities across some of their tech stacks. They all have exceptional fulfillment, a super strong understanding of their customers, and overall performance to match really good analytics on top of that. So Oliver and I have talked through a couple different case studies from some mutual clients. So I'll let him kind of talk a little bit about, his interest in really walking through some of these tech stacks, because I think that's where we can hopefully shed some light on what's working for some of the best brands that we do all work with.
Yeah, so kind of the lead into this from my perspective is within Peoplevox, our why we exist is to help with companies that want to deliver a great customer experience at the end of the day. And it's about matching their capability in terms of fulfillment to their ability to generate demand. And one of our fundamental principles is this visibility of what's going on. Our system ultimately, once it's in place, it means people have visibility on their inventory and they know what's going on in the warehouse. But what we're very aware of is the visibility of what we're doing is only one part of their organization. And the magic of e-commerce operations really happens when you can go right from the top of your technology stack, so like the marketing and the advertising channels, see that come through into, say, your Shopify platform, have that data all the way through to the warehouse system, your shipping platform, and then back through things like customer service, and bringing the data across all of those points together. And that actually gives you like the end-to-end visibility. And then really where that's powerful from what I've seen with clients is then using that to give you the ability to plan properly. So we're not just diving in and trying to grow revenue as the priority. We're actually coming up with an operational model that can drive profitability into the business.
Yeah, so I feel like you really preach that. Like even just following along your LinkedIn, you're always talking about how important it is to get the most optimal tech stack in place. So I'm glad that we get to feature it for everybody today. Do you want to jump into those?
Right now? Yeah. Let's like hit a couple. So like,
you tell me when to switch when you're done.
Yeah, this one's a good one to start with. So this was actually a tech stack that was implemented with a client that came across from a few, more of a centralized hub of a system. And the aim here was to enable them to get the visibility all the way through from the marketing technology, through their Shopify platform, through the warehouse, so that they could start to make more joined up decisions. And the thing that's interesting about this is the decision that client was making at the time was the kind of the obvious route is to say you need to go down. Once you get to a certain size, say 10 million, you start to kind of hit the marketing and the preaching around you need this single source of truth. You need to put in an ERP if you want to see all your relevant data in one place. And what we're finding bit by bit is that, and it's been proven over the last 2-3 years, is that the distributed technology stack has really started to come of age. And the key component with it is the layering of a Glew Analytics over the top of all of these different pieces of technology so that you can drive your key metrics. And this is a common technology stack for a direct-to-consumer brand, or in this case, this is actually for a multi-brand retailer that had a Shopify retail store running on Shopify POS and then 2 Shopify websites. And this for them enabled them to remove a lot of other systems and things that they were driving their data out of. So it's a very simple tech stack to start with. If we go on to the next one, Lindsay. This one starts to make things a little bit more interesting. So again, thinking not just about like the marketing automation, you've got the advertising data like Instagram, Facebook, Google Analytics. And I bought an inventory planner there as well, just to kind of give an idea that you don't need just that one system that's doing everything in terms of your back office supply chain, but also in terms of like your purchasing and your forecasting. It's okay to be getting data and doing things in different systems. You don't need to bring it all into one place necessarily, as long as you're able to get the kind of data that we're seeing on the right-hand side out of your analytics platform. And there may even be stuff in there that you don't necessarily need. Mm-hmm. And the next one, Lindsay. And then this is kind of the typical approach that you see, which would be even something like a NetSuite, right? And the logic here would be that you put in something like NetSuite, and that's going to be your single source of truth. That's where your data is going to reside. That's going to give you everything you need, right? But what we frequently see is that NetSuite's only a certain part of the story, and typically it's very financial focused in terms of the data that it gets out of the system. So if the data conversation in your business is being driven by finance, then NetSuite is going to be the answer to your data questions. Whereas if the data conversation in your business is being driven by merchandising or a genuine business analyst who's looking at the broader spectrum of data, they're not just going to be interested in what's NetSuite got from a financial perspective. They're going to be interested in what's in the warehouse, and they're also going to be interested in that top layer, which we haven't got visualized here, but it could still sit in there nicely, which is the marketing automation with things like Privy or Klaviyo, and then the advertising data coming out of Google Analytics, Facebook, Instagram.
So it's basically just, would you say it's common to see like certain tech stacks depending on like what type of a client you are? Because I feel like this is common with a lot of the
fashion. Yeah, it's the stage. Like if you're like direct to consumer brands have really really simplified their life by having a very clear strategy of I'm selling my own product and I'm going to sell it via my website, and I might add retail stores, but I'm not going to do too much. And as long as you're driving direct to consumer, you then don't bring in the complexity of, say, wholesale. You know, I'm often find when you're in conversations with, say, a wholesaler B2B company that is now starting to do direct to consumer, they end up in this more kind of rigid technology stack with their ERP, or they may even have put in an ERP to do B2B. And they'll always look enviously on, you know, I'd love to just have, you know, strip out all that complexity and have a bit more of an agile tech stack and just pick the best of each to run the business.
I get asked that question all the time. Like, I have so many apps. Like, I don't know if I need another app. Like, what is Glew? What can Glew replace? Or, you know, where does this all fit into my tech stack? I thought I had NetSuite. So that was my source of truth. So it's cool. I'm kind of surprised to see the combo of stuff like Inventory Planner. I didn't know that brands would do that.
Yes, I guess there's two bits to it. The first is, you know, do you really need an ERP, and at what stage? And yeah, there's people like, there's a really solid accountant based in Australia called Jason Andrew, and you know, he talks about this a lot. You know, from an accounting perspective of what do you actually need to scale, and he's got some really good examples from companies that have gone to 100 million without an ERP. You know, Gymshark being one of them, for example. And so you don't need an ERP to scale, but you do need access to your data. And then I guess the second part that would come with this is you naturally think, I don't want any more apps. But I think where the app fatigue comes in is, you know, and I've, you know, marketing and front end stuff in general through Shopify, there's a lot of apps out there. You know, Shopify is very app heavy, and it can create this kind of fatigue. There are the kind of apps that you just sort of sign up to. You know, marketing persuades you to spend $100 a month on it. You look back 6 months and realize no one's done anything with it, right? That's kind of where the fear and the fatigue comes in around apps. Whereas I would see what Glew does and what Peoplevox does is we're really looking to do a transformation project. It's a solution versus a tool. And that's where, you know, at a certain stage, and definitely that like 5 to 10 million is where you want to think about it. Definitely at 10 million, you need to be putting solutions in place rather than just picking up plug and play tools. You've got that element of, you know, off the shelf capability because they're specialized towards you. Like Glew is an e-commerce specific analytics platform. Peoplevox is an e-commerce specific WMS. Then you kind of layer on top of that, there's other stuff, right, that you're going to need, and you know, maybe more like that best practice and the know-how to get you from the 10 million to the 50 million. And again, that's like the service element that comes with the solution versus, you know, buying something and never talking to anybody.
Yeah, it's cool too, because like we've scaled so much with our offerings of Glew.io. Traditionally, that's what we're, you know, I'd say famous for, is what everybody plugs in a trial and kicks it off and it's instant. But, you know, Glew Plus comes in where we have clients that are after more advanced request. And so people that want to have access to everything in one spot, that's what Glew does entirely. So like when you think about, I can switch to this one. This page is on our website. We've got the new Descartes logo down there for you. But like when I see brands, they'll come to us and say like, okay, well, I can see pieces of Glew.io. I get that in Klaviyo. And I'm like, right, but Glew.io is never going to be a world's best email system. You know what I mean? We're not going to send out your marketing campaigns, but we do want to house all of your data. So when you think about Glew as a whole, Glew.io, Glew Plus, whichever, and just true BI in general, we're a single place to connect, analyze, and visualize all of your data from across your entire business. And once people realize, oh, that's what it means to have one single source of truth, it's like a light bulb. You can see it go off in their head. They're like, oh, great, because I really don't like the clunkiness of the reports I get out of my ERP. So if you can give it to me in an easier format with the combination of data, like I'm sold. So when I typically walk people through Glew, like each element of the tech stack, as you mentioned, Oliver, it serves a purpose. So I always coach brands, like, don't rely on the operational tool for your analytics and reporting. Like, maybe, I think we were talking with like White Fox Boutique, or it was FlatSpot, I can't remember which one, but systems were built to support their data. Like Peoplevox was built for Peoplevox data, and Facebook is built for Facebook Business Ad Manager. And so, like, I know Peoplevox's mission isn't to be the world's best inventory analytics tool. It's the best operational system for your warehouse and fulfillment. So, using them and keeping that in mind, like, what is the purpose of this tool? Great. Does it do that operationally? Like pushing data from your e-commerce cart to NetSuite so that Peoplevox can pick, pack, and ship it? Great. But your data has to be blended together so that you can provide reports on all of it at the same time. So I think what helps people, like, normally I'll show, let me switch gears. I'll jump out of the presentation and go into the app for a second. Like, having this page in our store settings where you log in and connect everything, it does make it instant. So I think what's cool, like, I've worked with brands that have already used Peoplevox. We've worked together on brands that were starting Glew as they made the switch to Peoplevox. And while there's a lot more that goes into the plumbing on your side, as soon as it is live, though, and they've got data in Peoplevox, they can connect it, and we'll be putting data in same day. So they can figure out, like, hey, did that, I don't know, new organization physically in our warehouse help our customer service tickets exponentially today? So, being able to think, okay, I've got Glew, I've connected all of my apps. There are a lot of apps. I think we've got like close to 80 now, and there's like 10 new ones coming out, I feel like, at the end of the month. So the team's been busy, but once they log in and see this, it's pretty cool because you can start with something super high level, like, great, this is my lifetime value and all of the customer segmentation, the things that you have here on the right-hand side. And we'll be following up, I meant to say this at the beginning, with a full recording and these slides. So don't feel like you have to take screenshots or anything. We'll get them over to you. But so many insights already here. But the key component is your inventory data, right? So if that's getting updated from the connection that Peoplevox talks to Shopify, then we get that data for your inventory. So I remember, I think it was Sheev at Just Hype, but he loved this page. He was like, holy crap, this is amazing. Peoplevox is talking with Shopify. Glew's got all of my data. I can come in here and quickly rank things by like sell-through rate, inventory velocity, depletion dates, predictive out of stock dates, and set up some filters for, like, maybe it's depletion days less than or equal to 30. Maybe some brands might have longer lead times, but then you say these are like low in stock. And this could be added to a report and then to go out however often they want to see it. So that's something I see a lot of my clients doing. Again, for like just individual SKUs, like being able to see that sales data from the historical Shopify piece, but then also start tracking the quantity that you have in stock of every tiny SKU that you have instantly. So, based on this, you start to say, okay, Glew.io does a lot of it very quick, but what about the data from Peoplevox beyond this? What else can I do? So people typically look at Glew.io as the structure of what to be looking at. It kind of guides you with like blinders, like look here, filter by inventory velocity, because it's all done for you. But there might be things that you want to see differently. Like FlatSpot's got some really cool reports. I can show you some examples in just a second, but it comes from having your data connected into here, loaded into that Glew Intelligent Warehouse, this slide here. And then because we've got our integration with Peoplevox, here's all of the data that you have access to. So for any of the integrations that we have at Glew, for those that aren't a current customer, we have tons of data dictionaries for all of those systems. So like NetSuite, if you're curious, it's quite long. Google Ads is like 10 pages. If you want to give it a look, there's quite a bit there. But hovering here, like carrier data, specifically looking at, I think, the locations of warehouses has come up a lot. Different supplier data, if there's any custom attributes. I had one, who was it? I think we were talking about maybe Pink Boutique, but like being able to track in the warehouse certain types of customers placing orders instantly. Maybe you'd say like, okay, show me all of the customers that have placed an order, their first order this month in July, but have already accumulated over £100 or $500 in revenue. And you're like, they're standing out as a potential high VIP potential customer. We don't know yet, but let's make sure that that order that we're about to ship out gets like an awesome hot pink shiny package instead of our lower cost shipping options, or having a handwritten note from the CEO that says like, hey, thanks so much for your order, we're glad to have you on board, whatever. Get creative with your marketing. But because you can have that data in tandem with Peoplevox, it's been really cool to see what some of our clients have done. So just as a quick example, taking all of your data from all of your sources, if you wanted to see it in a certain format, that's where we build custom reports, or our Glew Plus clients can build their own. So clicking into this one sample jumpstart that we have, a lot of our clients like to do some, just some tweaks to the inventory. Like they love what we have pre-built, but they're like, wait, I have 10 warehouses, or Flat Spot, for instance, they've got like what, 2 Shopify
Two stores, yeah.
Yeah. So then up here with parameters, you could toggle this report across all of them. So, hey, run me this report for all of my warehouses, all of my Shopify sites, maybe pull in the NetSuite data, whatever it is, but have the same report update. So this is a common one I see people liking, just seeing like individual products, where it is, the size. These are some KPIs that they were after, but any of this can be tailored however the merchant would like it. So that typically helps people understand, okay, Glew gets me started. Now I've got my Peoplevox data and NetSuite. What do you want to see in a custom format? So anything that you would add, Oliver, here?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like our role as a system of action in the technology stack is to, the foundation of all of these inventory reports is like, data's great, but how accurate is it? And if data's not accurate, then people tend not to use it. And then if they don't use the data, they're not making good decisions. So the foundation, like our absolute number one fundamental for any project we do is let's get the inventory accurate, because if inventory isn't accurate, then we oversell and we cancel orders. And there's no point looking at the lifetime value metric for too long, because we're just spoiling all of those new customers coming in. And it's kind of a bit like what we try and shift in the minds of people, particularly where they're handling the stock a lot, handling the inventory, is to start thinking about the inventory a bit like you do when it's your money in the bank. Like weirdly, a lot of founders, they take their money, they buy inventory arrives at the warehouse, and you walk in some warehouses and there's like inventory on the floor and stuff. And it's like, wow, like imagine if this was your money sitting on the shelf. Trying to get that mindset. So they go, okay, the inventory is my money. And even more than that, it's actually my opportunity cost to make more money. So it's worth more than the money you spent on it, technically speaking. And then from that, now we've recognized the value of it. Right now I want bank level detail of everything in and out. So like, okay, we're going to tell you everything that comes in, everything that goes out. We're going to give you that level of control. And then we wrap up and we go, right, the inventory is accurate. You've got that. The next bit is really then unlocking that data and starting to look into it to make those better decisions. And that's where Glew really can take your Peoplevox data onto the next level.
It's awesome. I would say, how often do you feel like merchants, how can I word this? Like see data and make changes? Like, are you seeing people change the way that they ship, like package wise, something as specific as that?
How do you mean by package wise?
Like the type of packaging that they use to send out their products to the customer?
Yeah.
Speed.
Yeah, I guess the thing we're seeing like most with the data related to the inventory, like the biggest is going to be what you buy, first of all. We've captured data from 197 companies in the past 12 months. And the most popular demand planning forecasting tool is Excel, Google Sheets.
Oh.
So that's what people are using to buy in e-commerce. You know, if that's the majority, that's what people are using. So what's actually driving the creation of those spreadsheets at the end of the day? It's going to be their data in some formats. You know, that's quite scary in itself, but that's kind of the nature of things. And I think particularly where I remember seeing some of our biggest clients have real challenges, particularly, you know, someone like Surfdome, you know, they fully overcame this challenge, but there was a point when Justin Stone, the founder, yeah, he was involved in doing a lot of the buying, and he was managing the spreadsheets and doing that. And I think a lot of founders can relate to that they're the buyers and they know what to buy and they're kind of in control of it all. And a lot of that's being driven by spreadsheets. And then you come to the point of, right, I want to bring in more of a purchasing and merchandising team. And the first thing they're going to ask is like, where's the data? What am I using to make my decisions? Yeah. And that's where we see that like kick to go, I need to go out and buy XYZ product because that's what they used when they're at that company doing 200 million. You know, I need to put in SAP, God help them. So it's about
call me in 2 years.
yeah, exactly. We'll all just disappear and come back when it goes well or badly. Let's see, to be known. So yeah, that's what's commonly happening. It's like you need to take the data to give people access so they can actually get involved in your business, rather than just relying on another system of action to come in so that they can, or like use a system that they know. And the other thing that this gives is like that ability to like check things out and switch products over. You know, a lot of these like arrows you've got going into the Glew Intelligent Warehouse, they can be switched out. You know, Peoplevox is another one of those systems that can be switched out from these technology stacks, and that puts you in a position where you're not held by the short and curlies by anybody. Because every bit in your technology stack to a certain extent can be replaced, and that gives you an ability to stay a bit more nimble perhaps, and particularly in e-commerce where like one of the measures of a solution you choose is going to be the level of innovation and how they're moving the product forward. Is it still the right thing? And you're always going to be reviewing that. With a distributed tech stack with Glew sitting over the top, you have got the ability to switch stuff out, which, you know, if you're the person driving that program change, it helps you sleep a little bit better at night to know that if one of the suppliers really pisses you off, you can actually make a change. You don't have to change everything.
For sure. And from a data side, I see that all the time with like new tools that people use. 2 years ago, I feel like Smile.io is buzzing everywhere, and then now it's gorgeous, and customers are pushing us as a company to have better data sources so that their reporting matches their amazing tech stack that they've come up with. So like, Snapchat, now we're working on TikTok. Didn't know we'd need that integration here, but here we are. So this has all been awesome. I think Abby was going to ask us a couple questions. I can switch over to go through these if you're cool, Oliver, and we can just kind of go back and forth what we think.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, guys. This has been, I think, a really good, useful conversation kind of about how Glew and Peoplevox work together kind of in the context of your broader tech stack. I think that's so important. But I'd love to kind of, and we've gotten into this a little bit, but get more granular and actually look at some of the data you can report on in Glew from Peoplevox and discuss some of the actionable insights you can get for your inventory and fulfillment. So let's start with just like the basic KPIs. Like what is some of the data that's available either in Glew for custom, in Glew.io natively or for custom reporting, and what are your options kind of for accessing that data, and what should you be managing? Yeah,
I think I might have skipped around and showed you a little bit of this, but I can definitely go back. I would first start out with like what people don't already know is that, Shopify, if you're just relying on Shopify, that's okay, depending on what stage you're at, but they are not the world's best inventory management system, right? They're an e-commerce cart. So they have all of your historical sales, but they're not going to know how many, shoes you had in size 9 at the start of today, because that's not their purpose. Their operational purpose is to receive the orders, and then Peoplevox or whatever other system you choose has to keep that inventory data up to date. And what's cool is that because those systems talk to one another, that data does get updated. We capture your inventory in Glew. So pretend you kicked off a trial today. This would be a flat line of 0, but then today it would start calculating every night at midnight. We're going to pull that, see how many you have in stock of that shoe, and then moving forward, tell you every single day. Now you've got 20 shoes in stock of size 9. Now you've got 18 the next day if we sold 2. Oh, we got 100 in stock. Now it goes back up. So you have this instantly, but it does start the day you connect your data to Glew. So it's something I always point out because people might not know that, but that's the only way that you're going to be able to get to these calculations, like sell-through rate. I can hover here and show you the formula, dividing however many units you sold compared to the units that you had at the beginning of the time period. So if you were to go back, all of last year, we're not going to know how many you had in stock in 2019 unless that data can be found somewhere else. Like, is it in the ERP? Is it in inventory planner? Where can we pull it? Hopefully not an Excel sheet, but if it is there, we do have a way to get custom data tables into the system for you through some custom reports. But this is huge. I'd say these are the main 4 things I point out to clients. Do you have any other ideas, Oliver, just at like very high level, what KPIs they're tracking? I can go back to some custom ones too.
Well, the KPIs that are there's 2 sets from our perspective. There's there's 2 sets of KPIs. Like there's always going to be, and I think I remember back to our first conversation. There's a set of KPIs related to the performance of the warehouse, like the number of orders picked per hour per person, the number of orders packed per hour per person, like that. That is right in our sweet spot of things that Peoplevox is good at from a reporting perspective. The warehouse manager wants a dashboard. Everyone in the business wants a big dashboard up in the warehouse going, how many orders you shipped today? Who's the fastest picker? Who's the fastest packer? How many orders left to go? And that's a good example of where a specific system like Peoplevox is going to report, but only in a certain area. And that's the bit that we recognize, like that's core to our proposition to be able to do that for every client. We're a system that delivers efficiency for the warehouse. People need to be able to track that efficiency. The next bit, where we kind of looking at the data more broadly, it's not just about thinking about Peoplevox is something that makes the warehouse more efficient. It's trying to join the dots across all the different functions. So like an example of this, just to kind of play out, would be, I don't know whether this is on one of our slides coming up, around like how to manage like a discounting or a sales period, and how you could potentially use the combination of Peoplevox and Glew for that.
Yeah.
We call these like surge events. So, and we're seeing it more and more with direct to consumer brands where they're driving this hype around these big sale events. And this is kind of where they acquire more new customers than ever before. And the performance of their warehouse, particularly when they're in like the early stages, the performance of their warehouses and fulfillments, this is where they start to feel the pain of like, oh, holy crap, we worked out a way that we could spend more on advertising and get a better return on investment than ever for first-time order conversion. But we didn't think enough about, once we get those orders, how are we actually going to ship them out the warehouse and deliver a customer experience that matches up to the demand that we can generate.
Right.
And this is where like the kind of more mark of a mature business is to start looking at, let's look at our Black Friday period and go, right, what revenue do we think we can generate? Here's like 4 models for it. If we generate that revenue and we make free shipping on everything, let's say, that's going to increase the percentage of orders that are going to have 1 item only in them, right? Because people aren't going to be driven to have to buy 2 items to hit the free shipping limit. Okay, so they're going to drive more single item orders. If we drive more single item orders, what items are we promoting the most that are likely to be just bought on their own? Because they're the biggest, the hottest selling items, like the standalone product. And then thinking the next stage is like, well, if we think we're going to sell X thousand of those, where are we actually going to put them in the warehouse?
Yeah.
For the Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale period. We've got one client, Misoma, who sell jewelry, and they'll actually think, year round, you've got this beautiful ability to choose like a necklace and a pendant and all these different combinations. But when they get to peak, they don't want people on the packing benches doing, the pendant and the necklace separately and like making stuff together. They're trying to get 20,000 orders out the door. So for them, it's about not just like positioning product. It's like they're actually, it's like the bundled products. They're actually taking them, pre-making them to get 1 step ahead in the fulfillment process. So that when they hit those sales periods, the customer experience is, on par, at least, with what they do the rest of the year. And there's, you've only got to go on YouTube and kind of look at some of the top brands. There's a lot of famous founders who have had to do apology videos. And while it's cool that you can create that amount of hype, at the end of the day, breaking shit means lost opportunity. Yes, you create the hype, and I get scarcity sells, almost like nothing else with some of these products. But, you want to drive scarcity, but you also need to deliver, because selling out of everything and then pissing everybody off is never going to make you feel good at the end of the day.
I was just showing the ad spend over time, because I was thinking, how cool would it be to see, like, if I'm a business owner, like a report that shows me I'm putting in all of this capital into increasing my ad spend, huge increase of my ad spend. Well, what does that look like? Then visualize your warehouse fulfillment, how many orders are coming in, how quickly are we getting them out? Is it correlated? Like, we're running a ton of Instagram campaigns, huge influx during COVID, mobile orders, like being able to analyze every decision that you're making to see, did it work? Should we change it up, or should we do what we're doing?
This is e-commerce operations done right, in my opinion. This is like having someone who's over what we're selling, right? What are we going to drive volume on? How are we going to fulfill those orders? So they're actually not just thinking about, let's just sell a load of stuff. It's like, let's sell this stuff. And this is going to result in this many orders. And these are the number of people we need in the warehouse, because your metrics, like with a system like Peoplevox, how many orders per hour each person can pick. And it's the same during COVID in the UK. We had clients who were forecasting, based on the minimum team they could have to stay socially distanced, how many orders they could do a day. I remember one client was like, we can do 1,500 orders a day with a team of 5 on a shift. And that means we've got the lowest level of risk. So they actually capped the number of orders they could ship a day based on that data. And
then that starts fresh the next batch that they work on the next day. That makes sense. That's cool. Yeah. I think we've kind of combined, sorry, Abby, 1 and 2, but
no, yeah, you're good. You guys are a step ahead of me, but and that's great. Like you guys got to exactly what we wanted to talk about, which is kind of how do these brands kind of execute on these like massive sale events effectively by having access to this data, which is awesome. I'm curious, there's something we didn't touch on, which I think is such an interesting use case that I hadn't really thought of prior to kind of having conversations with you guys, is really bringing it full circle with the data that you have in Glew and thinking like when brands have these major sales events, they are acquiring a lot of first-time customers typically, and how you can use the data in Glew to identify those customers and then figure out, all right, what do I need to do to turn those first-time customers into repeat customers? Maybe we can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, step one with that is have accurate inventory so you don't oversell, and have cancelled orders.
Mm-hmm.
Step 2 is shipping the right thing, which would be measured by returns and refunds, due to wrong item being picked. And the 3rd is how many orders did I end up in the backlog? How many orders shipped late, versus expected shipping date versus when they actually leave the warehouse. Customer expectation versus reality. And retrospectively, looking back on your sales period, part of the success should be, okay, we brought in this many new customers. We know how many orders we got out the door. We how much revenue we generated. In the trailing 2 weeks, how many returns were due to reasons that aren't positive reasons, things we could have prevented occurring. For example, wrong item being shipped or damaged item going out the door, and then also combining that with your data from Gorgeous of how did we get more customer service questions during that period? Did we get a massive spike so it's disproportionate? Because that's another team that you need to hire up in, and it's directly related to the performance of the warehouse in most cases.
One thing I just thought of randomly, I'm staring at websites all day long. It's great. It's like a window shop for a living, but there's a big difference in the types of styles of sites. I see a lot of Shopify ones that go the super clean, not too much text, pretty straightforward. And then some Magento sites that definitely use the customization that's there and have a lot more text. But I think it also depends on what type of products you're selling. So a lot of cosmetics or, swimsuit brands, I feel like those returns might be because of not knowing quite exactly which shade or which color hair extensions or what else have I seen? If I'm buying a bikini from a website for the very first time, I might not know how their sizing works for me. So being able to use that data and see, oh, we've changed our site. I wonder if that increased Gorgeous tickets or not. Do we need to have more people in customer service, or are we able to get by with, using the apps essentially? But yeah, I don't know. Just thinking it's cool to hear what you come across, because I'm makes sense. And I never know what's going on.
But there's a potential there as well to provide sizing advice over time. So I was looking at a really cool tool on a website at Asket, ASKET.com, I think they are. Cool. And they've got a size profiler, and the data is based on customers who bought the product, and then the return rate and the feedback that they've had on on people who thought they were a medium. How many of them thought they were a medium? And they've now built just a simple type form that kind of takes you through that journey of buying what size might you be, and then it actually uses the data from the existing customer base and their experience and their feedback to at the end tell you the probability, based on your answer to the question, the probability they're recommending the correct size to you.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that's a big thing for them, because they're into they're a brand that kind of believes in the buy less but better, and they're actively trying to prevent people from buying product they don't like and wasting the journey of the returns and everything. And obviously from an operational perspective, there's huge incentive to try and cut down returns due to sizing issues.
I've had a ton of people to talk about yes, we normally see discounts in the holiday season, but now COVID is just kind of like a free-for-all where people are trying different strategies to see what works. And so maybe brands that traditionally don't ever offer discounts, or they're more, average order value focused. So there's more that goes into the pre-purchase marketing, because maybe they're buying Creed cologne that costs them, $400. It's not like I buy that every week. And I maybe don't care how good I smell when I get up from my desk to go sit on my couch. But, there's all these different strategies that people have played around with. And I think seeing, a huge influx of those discount shoppers has been tough for brands. So you don't want to devalue your brand overall. So something that we, constantly preach here at Glew is watching out for your percentages. And because it is so easy, it's done for you in Glew. This is our demo account, so it kind of drops off here. But seeing 24% of my revenue in 2019 came from 28% of my customer base, only 2,000 people. Maybe this is a lot. Wow, we've got 60,000 value shoppers. These are people that only buy with a discount code. They love a good bargain. But maybe we have some stock that we're sitting on, we can't get rid of. the CEO, just every time he walks into the warehouse, he's like, oh, look at all of that money of mine going to waste. So something we recommend is like pushing through the automations that we have with the ESPs, like getting your data from your value shoppers. They love a discount code. Instead of blasting your whole customer base about it or sending out a ton of paid Instagram ads, just market those SKUs that you're really trying to get moving to these people at a discount. But it's not, how would I say this? It's not like diluting your whole customer base with the fact that flash sale, save now.
Yeah.
COVID's happening. Everybody run, please buy from me. It's a little more tailored. And I think it's helped some of the clients that I've worked with focus in there. But the last one, we might have touched a little bit, but Abby, I feel like we could still talk on 3 and then see if anybody has questions in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our last questions. We'll wrap up pretty soon. If you guys have questions, start dropping them in the chat now or in the Ask a Question module at the bottom. I see we've gotten a couple in there already, so we'll touch on those at the end. But yeah, our last question, and you guys did touch on this a little bit, and we were just on customer segments, so it's kind of perfect. But this is something I hadn't really thought a lot about either, but really how you can use kind of your fulfillment operations as a lever for really creative customer retention, and kind of how you can use your customer data in Glew to identify some customer segments to create really unique fulfillment experiences, and how that can kind of help you drive customer satisfaction and customer loyalty and retention. So maybe you guys can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'd say normally I focus on like the VIPs, or we've got, Oliver, I don't know if you know this, but in Glew, we calculate lapse point based on the average distance of days between your customers' orders. So, if Oliver buys a pair of shoes every 20 days and I buy a pair of shoes typically every 40 days, Oliver and I's average lapse point would be 30. But you're doing this for thousands of customers, and Glew does that automatically. So you don't have to think about what your lapse point is. We'll tell you when your data's in Glew, but you can also make adjustments to it. So trying to think of some custom ones that I've done, especially to help retain your best customers. Like you might have a ton of COVID people who've come in that might buy a sweatshirt from your site one time and never buy from you again, which is sad, but it's reality. Not everybody comes back. So instead of focusing on this huge bucket, I'd say, look at the lost customers, yes, but only the ones that are worth your time trying to retarget with Criteo, or trying to send back some sort of special, we miss you, we want you back campaign in Klaviyo. Just a quick one I could show you here. This is my favorite. If you are a client of mine, I know I've built this for you. I will drive up the AOV of the customers. So show me my best, highest average order value customers. Maybe we'll just say it's twice normal. If my AOV is 50, let's call it 100. And say status is lost. Because our thought process here is like, hey, they typically spend more than the average Joe. Or I forget what you called it the other day, but here's my high AOV, but lost customer base. Syncing this with your email system is huge. Typically spend more, haven't bought in a while, definitely worth retaining them compared to just staring at the scary lost bucket of all of those customers who haven't purchased in X number of days. That's a huge one I've seen work really, really well. Also just noting that we do pull in the rewards data. So we mentioned this when we were planning for the webinar, thinking about how you could have a report pulling from, Shopify, Gorgeous, Zendesk, Klaviyo, Ometria, and say, hey, here are my best customers who currently have an open Zendesk ticket. And if you know that, maybe because of Glew, your highest lifetime valued product are your pants, if that was the case when we ranked them by LTV, then you'd say, okay, well, maybe, our customer service team should be tackling the open tickets related to pants before we get to people writing in about bikinis, because based on all of our data, if we can get those pick, pack, ship, and out, and they're happy and they know exactly what kind of pants to buy, based on the data, that's where our highest lifetime valued customers are coming from. So then you use that when you're trying to acquire new customers. Hey, let's go find a lot of guys that want to buy pants. What else? I think trying to go through to make sure I've got all my examples covered, but those are the biggest ones I'd point out for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Oliver, anything else to add on to that?
No, nothing on that.
Cool. Awesome. I think we are about ready to wrap up then. We've got a couple questions, so I'll run through those and have you guys answer them. If you guys have any other questions, drop them in the chat and we'll answer them. And we'll also follow up later this afternoon with the recording, and you can reach out to any of us via email. Lindsay, I'm gonna have you go back to the slides just to put you and Oliver's contact information up on the last one, just so people can reach out to you guys directly as well. But for questions, we've got just two in here right now. So the first one was from Brad. I answered this in the chat, but I'll read it out loud anyway. So he asked, does your integration with Shopify access their fulfillment API? Can that data be viewed in Glew Plus? So I brought that back to our integrations team, and the answer is yes, we can pull that data for Glew Plus reporting, if anybody else is wondering. Yep. And Oliver, this is, you look like you saw, this is a good question for you. Susie is wondering, how does Peoplevox compare to an app like TradeGecko? Does it replace it? If you have a 3PL, is Peoplevox still appropriate for inventory management versus warehouse management? So maybe you can speak to that.
Yes, there's a couple of questions in there. First of all, how does it compare to an app like TradeGecko? So TradeGecko is an entry-level inventory management system. It does a lot of things, which is often really useful when you're at a certain size and scale, usually a bit earlier on in your growth trajectory, normally kind of between two and maybe you could stretch it to 10 million. Where does Peoplevox come in? We're a more focused solution for companies that are running their own warehouse. So I can kind of answer the second question, which is it still appropriate if you're with a 3PL? Our technology takes over and runs everything within the four walls of the warehouse. So from goods coming in to goods going out, we're putting everything on an Android mobile app, so people are scanning things around the warehouse, and we're optimizing that whole workflow and then providing the visibility across it all, so you can be on top of how things are performing. You can put our technology into a 3PL, so you could go to a third-party logistics company and they could use Peoplevox. And you can also run one warehouse using Peoplevox and then use the 3PL to run a warehouse in another country, which is often something we see. Clients put Peoplevox in their home country where they want to run their own warehouse, and then maybe in a secondary market they'd use a third-party logistics platform. And inventory versus warehouse management, like these are like classic debates that go on around what's inventory management versus warehouse management. There are a lot of inventory management systems that are kind of masquerading as also doing warehouse management. Inventory management, typically I would consider that to be purchasing through to order fulfillment. And where Peoplevox focus is those four walls of the warehouse, and typically we're fed things like purchase orders from other systems. So it could be as simple as your Google Sheets, which is the most popular purchasing platform on the planet, or it could be even purchase orders from a platform like TradeGecko, but more commonly it'd be something like Inventory Planner, or for merchants of a certain size and scale, that would be NetSuite. So that's kind of where one of the biggest areas in which we differentiate, but we still, with a Peoplevox technology stack, we're the master of the inventory within the warehouse that we manage. So we're responsible for providing an inventory feed up to the website to make sure you've got 100% accurate stock. We're then responsible for making sure that you pick accurately. And then the third area is making sure that you ship everything out on time. Are you able to ship as much as you can sell? And they're the three fundamental areas that we work in. And then obviously the thing we've been talking about non-stop, which is the visibility across all of that. Hopefully that answers the question.
I think so. Good answer. I think that's all the questions we've got. We'll hang on for just a couple more seconds. If you have any questions, let us know. And of course, you can follow up with Lindsay or Oliver. I know we've got a range of different people on the call today. So Peoplevox users, Glew users, if you have questions about either of our platforms, don't hesitate to reach out. And we will follow up with a recording and these slides later this afternoon. So yeah, let us know if you have any questions. We really appreciate you joining us today. Lindsay, Oliver, I'll let you guys sign off if you have anything else to add.
I can't believe Lindsay contacted me in week 2 or something of being at Glew. I had absolutely no idea.
Oh yeah, it was literally, I think it was in 2018. I'd say May. We can go look through our emails, but it's been fun. Been ton of fun.
I feel tricked. Genuinely shocked. I was like, surely you've been there forever, you know. But yeah, we've done quite a bit. It's interesting, like where we seem to, like you said, we both seem to pop up. Yeah, there's a lot going on in Australia and New Zealand that we've been involved in, which is kind of funny because we're not there. Either of us aren't there. But now we've obviously got a much bigger US presence as part of Descartes. So we're gonna see a lot more of each other in your home market, which is nice.
Cool. Well, I'm excited. Thanks again for joining. This has been fun. If anybody has questions, reach out and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Cool. That was great. Hope that was helpful. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.